Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Rochelle. I read a variety of books and I also have a disability, and I am so excited because one of my favorite horror booktubers is back and has created a horror bingo board from October 1st to September 30th of 2026. If you are a regular on my channel, you will have known that I did a horror bingo board for the last one, and I am honestly still working on trying to finish it. I have, I think, around 7 spots left on the board, and I am trying my hardest to finish it in hard mode. I don't know if I will be successful, but that's neither here nor there. I have gone and looked through all the prompts for Sarah's new horror bingo board. She has changed around a lot of the different spots, and as always, I really love how she does an easy mode and a hard mode, but also makes things pretty flexible as well. So as long as you're doing the honor system, if it's something that kind of resonates with you and is how you interpret that prompt, you can go and usually pick that as a place on the board. Now, she did kind of do a few more that seem to be more participation types of themes. So for some of those, I didn't exactly have books that I could go and fill them out with just yet. So those might be something that gets filled out more as the year progresses and also we go into 2026. But I am so excited, and I have a lovely, they're probably gonna fall. I have a lovely pile of books here that I have gone and put together for different prompts on the board. I also have a few here and there that were books that I've read in the past year or so that might help if you're trying to think of additional prompts for certain places on the board. So I have a few there as well that I can help recommend. For a lot of these prompts, I try to find ones that would also fit for hard mode because I am a Capricorn. I am incredibly stubborn and I love a good challenge. So I want to try my best to do hard mode. But let me stop blabbing and let us get started going through all the different prompts. I have the rules on my phone just to make it easier to look back on. I have them exactly how Sarah had them written out, and she does have all the resources on her video, so I will have her video linked in the bottom down below, just if you want to hear her go through all the rules and some additional recommendations that she has. She should be also making a video with all of her TBR for the board, but that one, to my knowledge, has not been posted yet. So for the first prompt, it is published in 2025. So we need to read a book published in 25, and for hard mode, this has to be read before the end of 2025. So this is kind of a repeater that she has from her original bingo board, and that one I was luckily able to go and finish right away. So I actually have 2 books on my list, and I kind of gave myself a little bit of wiggle room because I sometimes can be a mood reader depending on what book I want to read. So one of the ones I have is Boys with Sharp Teeth by Jenny Howell, and I believe this is kind of like a dark academia one, and I have been incredibly curious about this. I also really enjoy following the author's Instagram. She just seems a little bit of like cozy chaos, which I absolutely adore. And then the other one I have is Listen to Your Sister by Nina Veal. Both of these books have been published in 2025, so as long as I've finished them before the year is up, they will count for that place on the board for hard mode. Then the next prompt is mixed media. I'm going on the top row. So this one is a book that includes mixed media, journal entries, letters, scripts, texts, advertisements, etc. Hard mode, the book includes more than 3. So the one I have is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a book that I have yet to read, but it has definitely been on my list, especially since I believe there's either a movie or a TV show for it. I love going and reading books that have a physical copy first before going and watching a new rendition in the media for it. So this has been one that I've been really trying my best to go and read. I know there's a lot of different types of media styles in it. I think there's recordings, text messages, notes, and things like that. So I'll have to read this book first to know for sure, but I think there are at least 3 different media styles for this one. And if you're looking for some other books that might count, one that I have read in the past was No Place Left to Hide by Megan Lally. I don't think that one would count for hard mode, but that is another book that you might do if you're trying to look for an easy option. It was a book that I did enjoy, but I didn't love it as much as Megan Lally's first book. But anyway, this will be my pick for hard mode. Then the next one is indie self-published work, a book that is indie or self-published. For hard mode, it has to be a new to you author. So the book that I'm picking is A Song at Dead Man's Cove by Anna Uden. This was an author that reached out to me, I think a few months ago, to see if I was interested in reading their book. I have yet to read anything by this author. This one was also self-published as well, so I believe this one would also count for hard mode. I have been really wanting to go and read this book as well, so I'm excited that this one actually works for the hard mode prompt. Moving on to the next spot, we have paranormal. So this is a book that is considered paranormal, topics such as ghosts, alien abductions, and psychic abilities. So for hard mode for this one, there are ghost hunters or paranormal investigator characters. So the one that I am picking for this one is I'll Be Waiting by Kelly Armstrong. So this one right away you can tell has a Ouija board on it. I believe also the main character's husband ends up going and passing away, and then she gets this weird message about him saying like, I'll be waiting for you. And I want to say that just kind of briefly looking at the synopsis, it kind of seems like there's seances and other types of psychic related things. So I think this might go and work, especially dealing with people that are a little bit more knowledgeable for the paranormal. So I'm really hoping that this one would work for hard mode. Another book that would work for this prompt, but unfortunately is a book that I've already read, is The Carrow Haunt by Darcy Coates. This one I read, I believe, towards the beginning of the year, and it did involve ghost hunters, paranormal investigators in this book. So if you're looking for another book to fit that prompt, and maybe you already read I'll Be Waiting, this could be one that you could use for that spot on the board if you're looking for a hard mode book. Then the next one we have is stolen from another TBR. So like I said in the beginning, Sarah did really use a lot of prompts for this board where you kind of have to go into the book community, whether it's Instagram or YouTube, to kind of get recommendations and work together with other people. And I really do like how there's kind of that community goal with some of these prompts that Sarah did. It's definitely a nice twist, and also adds to the fact that her horror bingo boards are so fun because they are really a challenge. And as you see how Sarah does it, it definitely is a challenge, but can be done in easy or hard mode. So this one is a book that you saw in someone else's TBR. In hard mode, get the book from a horror bingo TBR. So when I was looking through my bookshelves and everything, there were a few that I got a little bit stumped on, and Sarah's really great at going and resharing different bingo boards that people have already completed and put together. So one that was on her story, and you can go and look on her profile, and she does go and save other people's bingo boards, was Got to Love Lex, who had the following book, From Below by Darcy Coates, on their horror bingo TBR. And I was like, you know what, I did go and haul this book recently, and I have been really wanting to read it. I also absolutely adore Darcy Coates, so I feel like this one would be a pretty achievable book for me to get to. So this is going to be my hard mode pick, and honestly is one that I'm a little bit more nervous to read because I do kind of have a fear of creatures in the water, mostly sharks, and I don't think, as far as my knowledge goes, that there's sharks in this one, but still it kind of gives me a little bit of the creepy, scary vibe, so I am nervous for this one. Then moving on to the second row, the first prompt is vampires. So this is really easy with a book that has vampires in it, but hard mode, the story takes place in modern day. So I want to say that Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab would be a book that counts for this. I know that there's a lot of different time jumping and everything in this book with reflecting on moments that happened in the past, but I feel like I do want to put this one as hard mode because this is a book I have been really wanting to try my best to read. So I'll have to read this one first to make sure that there is parts that take place in current time, but this does involve lesbian vampires in it, and vampires is one of the requirements for this spot on the board. So fingers crossed that this one would work for the hard mode prompt. And then moving on to the next spot on the board, it will be water setting. So this is a book with prominent water settings. Coastal involves a lake, ocean, etc. Hard mode, majority of the story happens directly on or in the water. So one of the books I have for hard mode would be The Unfinished by Cheryl Isaacs. I believe this book is also written by an Indigenous author, which is a personal goal for myself to read more books by those authors. But I believe that this one kind of involves some creepiness involving the lake and some sort of paranormal stories involving it. So I am curious to go and read this one. Another option that I have is Into the Sublime by Kate A. Borman. This one, based off of the cover, it does look like it involves water, but it seems like it also involves caves. So this one I would have to go and read first to really see if it would fit the hard mode prompt. If anything, it probably would fit for the easy one, but that is why I'm probably going to go with The Unfinished as my set prompt for hard mode. If you're also looking for another option for this prompt, one that I've read in the past was They Bloom at Night by Trang Tan Tran. This one does take place on the water for majority of the story, so this one would definitely work for hard mode. Next prompt is Horror Movie Element. So a book that features horror movies in some way, pays homage to horror movie characters, revolves around a movie, or there's a character that is a horror movie connoisseur, etc. And for hard mode, watch a horror movie. I've technically already completed this prompt almost every single day in the month of September. I really love watching horror movies. A lot of the time I find those to be my comfort movies to go to. But I would really like to read a book for this prompt. So the one that I'm picking is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. If you can't tell, the cover has a VHS tape, so I feel like this one would 100% count for this prompt. I also really enjoy Geneva Rose, and I've been wanting to read more of her books recently, so this is a perfect way to go and dive back into some of her books. I'll probably complete the hard mode for this one, but I won't complete it until after a specific prompt on the horror bingo board first, and you'll get to see that here in a bit. So moving on to the next spot on the board, it's Spell Ghost or Scare. So this one, I really liked the creativity with it. It is a book that you can spell ghost or scare using the letters from the title and the author's name. So hard mode for this is the author is BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, People of Color. So the one that I am picking for this one is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm able to spell ghost with this book, and it is by a BIPOC author. I've been really wanting to go and read this book, and I've had this book on my shelf for quite some time. I've heard that this is kind of like a different reimagining of a very classic story called Carrie by Stephen King. So I am really excited to go and finally get the chance to read this one because it does count for hard mode. The last spot on this row is Liminal Spaces, and this one kind of threw me for a loop for a bit. I was like, do I have anything on my shelves that would count for this that I haven't read already? So for Liminal Spaces, it's a book where the story includes a liminal space, a place in between worlds, planes, and universes. Hard mode, the book has an even number of pages. So this was another one that I was kind of looking through some of the TBRs that Sarah's already shared, and I was like, oh, there's a few on there that could work, but also I don't have any of those books, and I'd really like to pick ones that I own or I have on my Kindle already. And then I happened to look over on my ARC shelf, and I found that I have The Love Club by Leo Min. So with this one, it kind of seems to be an Asian version of Jumanji. These kids were all friends at one point and then weren't friends again. A friend goes missing, and then suddenly they're brought into this game that they really loved as children. And this book does end on an even number. It ends on 356. So I was so excited because I've been meaning to read this, and I'm very behind on reading a lot of my ARCs. So this book not only works for easy mode, but it also works for hard mode, which was something I was trying my best to find. Now moving on to the third row, the first book we have is Library Book. So this is a book that you checked out from the library, or you could go and borrow it from a friend. But hard mode, you have to return it on time or in a timely manner. So I don't currently have any books checked out via Libby at this time. I think I have one, but it's not really a horror book. So I will have to kind of look around and plan that one out a little bit more. I have a few options like It by Stephen King, but I might actually use that one for a different prompt. And then there's a few others that I can't remember on the top of my head, but I'll put images here of the ones that I might also think about going and borrowing from the library as well. Then Pick by Chance is the next prompt, and that's a book that is picked by random via spinner wheel, jar pull, pet pick, all of those different things. However, for hard mode, there are more than 10 possibilities. So if you're someone here on my channel that's been here a while, I do have a TBR game called Defend the TBR where one of the popular picks on the board is a pet pick, but usually I only do around 3 or 4 books for those. So I could easily use one of those as a easy mode pick, but I think when I get to this one, I'll probably do a spinner wheel just so that it will count for the hard mode option. So next prompt is a book that you have been putting off. So finally read a book that has been on your radar that you keep not reading for whatever reason. And honestly, there are so many different ones that I could do for this one, but this is the catch that I was mentioning a bit earlier in the video. Hard mode for this is make it the first book you fill out on the board. So no matter what I do, I need to go and finish this prompt first. Otherwise, there's no chance of me completing the entire board in hard mode. This is the one where I might actually put It by Stephen King on, because I did actually have this for my original horror bingo board for the very first one that Sarah did, and I still have yet to read it. So this is probably the one that I would put here on this spot. Then moving on to the next spot, we have LGBTQ plus rep. Obviously, this book has to have LGBTQ plus representation. But for hard mode, the representation is the main character and there are LGBTQ plus themes. So I have some books, however, I've already read all the ones that would work for this one. So one that has been on my radar for quite some time that I'd like to read is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. I also do have Hazelthorn as a NetGalley arc by C.G. Drews, but I'm not quite sure if that one does have a lot of the themes. I feel like it does, but when I was quickly when I was quickly skimming through the synopsis, I couldn't quite see it. It didn't seem as obvious as the synopsis for Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews, but either way, those two books by that author are ones that I'm considering for the hard mode spot. Also, another one I forgot to mention for LGBTQ plus rep would be Come Out by Natalie C. Parker. This was a book that I read a while back as a NetGalley arc, and I loved it so much I had to go and pick up the book. There is a lot of LGBTQ plus themes throughout the book. The main character is also a part of the community as well, so this would be a great book if you're also looking for a book that works for hard mode for that prompt. Then we have Buddy Read, which is a book that you read along with other people. It can be just you and a friend or a large book club. Hard mode is you have to participate in a discussion. So I technically am already kind of completing this spot. However, it's going to complete before the actual bingo board starts. And I told you earlier, there's another spot I need to complete if I want to do the entire board in hard mode. But one that I'm just going to kind of mention here just as a recommendation is Hollow by Taylor Groth. This one also does work for the LGBTQ plus rep because the main character is pansexual and there's also different LGBTQ plus themes throughout the book as well. Moving on to the fourth row, we have recommended. So this is a book that is recommended to you either by a friend or online book person. Hard mode is it is out of your comfort zone, whether because of format, subgenre, etc. So the one I have for this spot is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. I have heard nothing but great things about this book. However, I've been a little bit intimidated by it. I love horror. However, body horror is something that is a piece that I'm not always fond of with books. So because of that, I've been extremely hesitant to go and pick up this book. But I can easily go and use this for the recommended spot, and there's probably other ones that I could do too, but this is the one that first popped up in my mind for this prompt. Then we have novella, so obviously reading a novella for this one, but hard mode, it's by an author you have read from before. So I do have an author I've been kind of working on reading through her books, and so the second book that she has is Lost, and it's part of the After the Plague series, and this is by Imogen Keeper. So if you're looking for a book potentially to go and read as a novella or self-published author, this one would be one that I would also mention for you to potentially pick up as well. But I'm going to use this one for the novella prompt because I have read a book by this author already. Next we have a a prompt that I was actually really excited for, and that's Planty, Eco, and Nature, a book that centers planty and nature-based horror, so bugs, plants, etc. But hard mode, the cover includes nature elements. So I actually hauled this one not too long ago, and it's Predatory Nature by Amy Goldsmith. I have been obsessed with the cover on this book because I honestly love carnivorous plants. They're some of my favorites, and I actually ended up going and doing my first pingdom, and I do have a video for it, and it's actually on my ASMR channel, just with me going and unboxing everything and then putting things together. But I love carnivorous plants. So this is my book that I'm going to use for hard mode for this one, and I'm absolutely excited for it. I love carnivorous plants, and this has been a book that I've just been very excited for, if you can't tell. Then we have title includes a verb. So there is a verb in the title, such as sell, eat, roll, share, etc. But hard mode for this one is the book is a backlist. So this is up to interpretation. And like I said, Sarah does make these very easy and gives a lot of wiggle room. But it's not a new release or a widely currently talked about book. So the one I picked is They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. I feel like this one isn't a book that gets talked about too much, but it also is a backlist book for this author as well. I've really wanted to read this one, but it's kind of one that I have to be in a specific mood for due to some triggers. But I am really excited to finally get the chance to read this book as well. Then last one on this row is Second Chance, and this is read a book that you're giving a second chance to. It could be based on the author, the subgenre, format, style, a book you previously did not finish, or something else. And then hard mode, it has an odd number of pages. So the one that I'm doing for this one is The Troop by Nick Cutter. I read this book last year and unfortunately had to DNF it just because it made me sick to my stomach and was not one that I could push through due to the body horror. But at the same time, it has been one that has been constantly on my mind because so many people in the horror community really love it. And I got so close to finishing this book before just DNFing it. So I'm choosing to give this one a second chance. The hard mode for it is a little bit of a hit or miss because some versions of it end in an even number and some end in an odd number. So it really would depend, and I'm probably going to see if I can go and borrow this from the library since I already did unhaul this book. Moving on to the last row, which is the fifth row, we have animal on the cover. So the cover features an animal that exists in reality, so no mythical or cryptid creatures. And then hard mode, the book is longer than the last book you read. So as Sarah mentioned in her video, you kind of have to be strategic with some of these. And so depending on which book I read before this, the one that I'm choosing is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. And I have yet to go and read a book by this author, at least to my knowledge. So it makes me really excited that I can finally get the chance to pick this one up. I also do love how creepy the cover of this one looks. I've seen a few different versions of it, but this one is my favorite out of all of them, and it has animals on it, so it works. Then we have one-word title. So a book with a one-word title, the counts as a word, so the blank would be a two-word title and does not count. And then hard mode, the cover is colorful and not black. So the one I'm choosing is Hex by Thomas Old Hoovelts, and I feel like this one has a lot of different colors, so it's not just black, it's more just dark colors in general. I've been really wanting to read this one for quite some time, and this one would also work for the verb prompt on the board as well if you already have one that works for this one. And yeah, I'm excited to read this one. I've heard it's very creepy. Then another one, which would kind of be community-based in a way, is Works with Another Goal. So a book that helps a personal reading goal, reading challenge, or readathon. Hard mode, the overlap is within the YouTube community and you share the event in the comments of the announcement video. So this one I have to kind of wait some time. I'm not currently doing any readathons aside from obviously this horror bingo board. So I'll have to wait to kind of see if there's one that draws my interest and one that I would consider using for this one. Then last one on the board is Social Commentary. So a horror book that has themes surrounding social issues, racism, homophobia, poverty, mental health, addiction, gender equality, etc. Hard mode, the author is in a marginalized group. So the one I'm going with is The Reformatory, and I can't quite remember how to pronounce the author's name right now, so I'm not going to try to pronounce it and butcher it. This is one that I've been really wanting to read for quite some time as well, so I jumped at the chance to go and add this one to my horror bingo board. Those are all my picks for the horror bingo board. Some of them might go and change as we go, but for now, these are kind of the options that I've gone and picked for the board and some of the different places there. I'm really excited to read all of these. I really do like a lot of the choices I have in these piles, and I'm just thrilled and excited. Thank you so much, Sarah, for making another horror bingo board for us, because you do so much hard work for these and you make it so fun and easy to do. I really enjoy the flexibility and everything, and like I said, I'm so excited to do this again for another year. If you're planning on also doing Sarah's bingo board as well, I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Is there a book that you're also planning on reading that you may have seen on my board, or is there a different one that you're thinking for one of these prompts that I didn't mention? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you've made it to this point in the video and you don't know what to comment, I'd say maybe leave a blood droplet for the weight of blood down in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so excited to do this, and yeah, can't wait to talk to you in the next video. So as always, I want to remind you that you're worthy and capable of amazing things. Bye, friends. Why are you being such a little gremlin? He is being such a little gremlin today. I love you, but you are being such a gremlin. My goodness.